What's up, guys? Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. Guys, it's number 278. Today we're going to be talking about testosterone, and we're going to discuss everything from A to Z, everything having to do with testosterone. So I have Rick on the line. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, Steve. Hey, what's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there? Today's podcast 278. On our podcast 276, we did Equipoise. That was a really nice one. And podcast 274, we did Dianabol. So if you want to find out about those two hormones, make sure you check those back out. And then on podcast coming up for the single compounds, which one do you want to do, Steve? I haven't decided.
Yeah, it's gonna be 280.
Podcast number 280. What do you want to do for 280?
Yeah, I think we're gonna go with Deca for 280.
Like Deca?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Nandrolone. 280, we're doing nandrolone phenylpropionate, nandrolone undecanoate, right?
Yep.
Good to go. All right, so 280, we're going to do Deca, and this is 278. We're doing testosterone. So these podcasts are pretty much evergreen. The information you're going to hear today, it's relevant today. It's relevant 10 years ago. It'll be relevant 10 years from now. So you're getting, everything that Steve and I have researched and used and know about testosterone, a lot of years of dealing with being in the lifestyle.
Yeah, guys. So let's talk about testosterone first, and then Rick's going to talk about the history, and we'll kind of dig into it. First off, when we're talking about testosterone, we talk about it on the forums. We're talking about it on this episode. We're talking about the synthetic exogenous testosterone that we're going to be injecting into our body. We're not talking about the testosterone that's in our body and other animals' bodies, obviously. So this is a synthetic version that we're injecting, which it mimics exactly the structure of actual testosterone that's in our body. Now, what is that testosterone that's in our body? It is a male hormone, and in males, it's going to be made by our testicles, our balls, our nut sack, whatever you want to call it. And also our adrenal glands do produce a small amount as well. It is our principal sex hormone as males, and it is anabolic in our body, and it is androgenic. Females will also produce a small amount of testosterone in their ovaries, but it's way less than what males produce. I'd say about a tenth as much as what males produce. So if you run blood work, a normal level of testosterone in a normal, healthy adult male is going to be somewhere between 300, 350 nanograms per deciliter up to about 850, 900 nanograms per deciliter. So if you're running blood work in the United States, typically those are going to be the metrics that we judge it by. So if you're lower than that, you're considered low testosterone, and that would be, that would suck, because if you're low testosterone, you're going to have a lot of negative side effects, which we're going to get into as this podcast continues. So what are the advantages of having injecting testosterone? Well, it's, like I said, anabolic and androgenic. So you're going to get all the great qualities of using a steroid, anything from more muscle, leaner and fat department. You're going to get some strength in the gym. You're going to get some nice strength in the gym. You're going to get some improved mood, especially if you're low on it. So there's a lot of benefits. We're going to dig into the benefits later. But first, I want to give Rick, let him jump in and talk about the history, because it's kind of fascinating learning about the history of these compounds. Tell us a little bit about the history, Rick.
I got a pretty fascinating history here with testosterone. So around in 1889, a Harvard professor named Charles Edward Brown Socard, dude had 4 names. He extracted what he called a rejuvenating elixir from dog and guinea pig testicles. You heard that right, from dog and guinea pig testicles. The then 72-year-old professor gave himself injections of the extracted elixir, and he thought that he felt great and that he felt restored. So as far back as 1889, people that knew things knew there was already something there, and they started just injecting. Imagine that, the extract of dog testicles and guinea pig testicles, and then injecting them. That's pretty hardcore. So when scientists all over the world started hearing about this guy's experiments, they started doing their own experiments with animal testicles, trying to find the elixir of life. So in the 1890s, a 70-year-old volunteer named Jason Gamble from San Francisco was injected with a lamb testicular fluid. Okay, so the testicular fluid from a lamb. And a few days after his injection, Gamble said he felt more limber and had better digestion, had more energy, had a objective test, also showed a significant improvement in his grip strength. This is a quote from some of my research there. So 1890, Jason Gamble, guy got injected with testicular fluid from a lamb and felt that it improved his lifestyle, apparently. By 1927, already in University of Chicago, right, the professor of physiological chemistry, Fred C. Koch, he found a way to obtain large amounts of bull testicles. So they started trying to isolate pure testosterone out of these bull testicles. So they found a way to isolate pure testosterone, and they started testing it on roosters that had their testicles removed. So by 1935, in the Netherlands, there was a group of scientists there that were able to isolate a few pure milligrams of testosterone, and they were able to identify the hormone. It was published in a newspaper, May 1935, the article on crystalline male hormone from testicles, testosterone. And the article, they talked about it. They found it, they isolated it. And from the 1930s to about the 1950s, they called it the golden age of steroichemistry because a lot of new hormones were developed. Once testosterone was identified as this pretty simple and pretty ancient three-ring structure, automatically scientists begin manipulating the structure to get different effects from it, different effects in the human body and different interactions with the enzyme. For example, they would take the structure and change it up a little bit so that it wouldn't interact with the aromatase enzyme. Hence, it wouldn't aromatize. It would not give you any estrogen-related side effects. However, it would give you other different side effects. And from about the 1930s to the 1950s, in that 20-year span is when most of the steroids that we have today were developed, is when testosterone was identified and isolated. For many of you guys that have been around the bodybuilding world here the last 10, 15, 20 years, if you saw there was a big wave of pro hormones that people were taking for a while and became then illegal. A lot of guys think those were new pro hormones. They were not. Those were published in a book from the 1960s, 1950s. I mean, they were published in a book and they were discovered ages ago. And many of them had been tested, and they just found no reason to continue to research them any further because maybe there were other better steroids at the time. And those were the ones that became commercialized, like your Anavar, Winstrol, your testosterone esters. And by about 1939, they had already figured out how to actually synthesize testosterone from cholesterol. So testosterone was around and people were using it from about 1939 is when it really became available. And by about 1967, the International Olympic Committee decided to ban steroids and any kind of performance enhancement in the Olympics. Now, remember John Ziegler from episode 274, John Ziegler started developing Dianabol around 1954. And by 1967, already the Olympic Committee was coming down on athletes for using performance enhancement, especially testosterone injections, especially Dianabol and some of these compounds. Now, from my research, testosterone at first was just available as base testosterone without an ester. And then just 2 or 3 years after testosterone was in the market, it became available with the propionate ester. So apparently the very first esterified testosterone was testosterone propionate. Now, talking about the history of testosterone a little bit, we have a lot of hormones that our bodies use. Hormones are basically signal carriers. And these sex hormones, these testosterone hormones that we use have been in us so far back that we share the same kind of structure with like horses and fish and other vertebrates because it's a hormone that our bodies had from way back in evolution. Now, when you compare it against something that I discussed this in another podcast, human growth hormone, the human growth hormone that's in you won't have the same effect on a horse, vice versa. The horse's growth hormone won't have the same effect on you. However, your testosterone between you and the horse is interchangeable. So these are hormones that were basically developed in latter stages of our evolution, obviously, right? So that's why I would say testosterone is a pretty ancient hormone when you compare it to our version of human growth hormone, which is something we probably developed more recently in our evolution. So it's an ancient hormone, as in humans, as in horses, cattle, fish, and this is why veterinary steroids that were meant to use on horses and cattle and pigs and whatever, why they work on humans so well, because it's a pretty ancient hormone that goes all the way back to our common ancestor with other vertebrates.
All right, guys. So what Rick was mentioning, the first testosterone version was testosterone base, as he said, suspension. And what it is, it's the injectable testosterone hormone in a water base. So there's no ester attached to it, and it's pure. 100 milligrams is actually 100 milligrams. It's pure testosterone. The problem with it is there's a lot of post-injection pain, and also it's only going to be in your system a very short time. But the benefit, the only situation where I recommend you even touch this stuff is if you're a tested athlete, because it's going to be impossible for them to call you and say, you know what, you got to report to the lab to get tested on Tuesday. You go on Tuesday, it's not going to be in your system, even if you injected it that same day they called you. So that's what pro athletes will use to avoid detection. That's the shortest one. The next one is propionate, 2 to 3 day half-life. It is also typically strong post-injection pain, but it is oil-based. Guys who are running short cycles, guys who are competitors who want to have their system quicker, they'll finish ahead of their competition, so it's out of their system. Then you have the Omnidrin Sustanin blend, which is 4 blend all in one, 4 esters, 1 short, the propionate, 1 intermediate, and then 2 longer esters. You have testosterone cypionate. It's about a 10-day half-life, maybe, some, I've seen some as low as 8, some as high as 11 or 12. Just depends on who you want to believe, but it's a very smooth injection. It's what is used in the United States for testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy typically. In Britain, they like to use the Sustanin, and in East Europe, they like to use the Omnidrin. Another one that's used in the United States for long-term, HRT or TRT is testosterone enanthate, and that half-life is similar to cypionate. It's somewhere between 10 and 12 days. And again, it's very smooth, has long esters, so you can inject it once a week, no problem. You also have the testosterone phenylpropionate, which has a half-life of about 4 days, 3 to 4 days. You've got the isocaprate, which has a half-life of about 7 days, about 6 or 7 days. And then you have the long decanate ester, which is 12 to 14 days. That one is really good if you're on long-term TRT or HRT, if you're cruising. And then you have the undecanate, which is a really, really long half-life. It exceeds 2 weeks. And that one you only have to inject maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, because that one is a super, super long ester. So, quickly, what do I recommend if you're running a short 6 to 8 week cycle? Go with the propionate. It's in your system, peaking quicker. It hits quicker. It's out of your system quicker. If you're running a normal 12, maybe 14-week cycle, go with the SIP or the enanthate ester. If you're running TRT, HRT, go with the long esters, guys. Go with the decanate or undecanate. So, Rick, tell us some more stuff about testosterone. Go ahead.
So now that you ran through the esters and the times, I'm going to give you guys a little something here about the weights. So I said this in another podcast. I'll rehash it again. When you look at the milligrams that you are injecting, right, you got to think about it this way. When the raw powder or when the raw hormone is being weighted out to be made into a formula, the total weight of the hormone includes the ester chain. Now, the ester chain does not grow muscle. It is just there to let that hormone get suspended in oil. And so that once the hormone enters your body, it's not in and out used right away, but that it lingers. It can linger for days, sometimes weeks. So it's just important to know that when you inject, let's say, 100 milligrams of testosterone propionate, about 80 milligrams of that is going to be actual active testosterone, while about 20 milligrams is going to be the propionate ester chain that needs to get cleaved off, needs to come off the steroid first before it can interact with the receptors and do its thing. The way your body cleaves or takes off the ester chain is with a couple of enzymes that are there, and these enzymes interact naturally in the body with other structures that are like it. And when the steroid is in your system, these enzymes are naturally drawn to interact with the structure, and it takes that little ester chain, takes that little chain off of the steroid. Now the steroid can interact with the receptors. Testosterone cypionate, for example, you get about 69 milligrams of actual testosterone for every 100 milligrams. The rest is ester. When you're talking about something like testosterone decanoate, testosterone undecanoate, you're only getting about 62 to 61 milligrams of testosterone that will actually build muscle for every 100 milligrams of testosterone decanoate or testosterone decanoate. The other 38, 39 milligrams are non-muscle building ester chain that, like I said earlier, has to come off of the base hormone before the base hormone can interact with receptors or other enzymes itself, like 5-reductase or the aromatase enzymes. Now, I have to mention enanthate because that is a popular ester. That's about 70 milligrams of testosterone that you get for every 100 milligrams of testosterone enanthate. You get about 70 milligrams of active. The other 30 milligrams are the ester chain, like I said earlier. So it's a quick rundown to go with your timelines there, Steve.
So let's talk about the benefits. First time I ran testosterone, I ran a sustanon, the sustanon blend, 500 milligrams a week. One of the first things I noticed is in the gym, strength was up. My libido was up. My mood was up. Felt like $1,000,000. Felt like I was 17 again. You know that feeling when you're 17? It was just amazing. Appetite went up. I was growing muscle like a weed, and I was getting bigger, man. I was getting confident and everything. So it basically makes you feel like you're young again, especially as you get older, because your testosterone levels drop as you get older. You throw in exogenous testosterone, and you're going to feel young again. It feels fantastic. So those are the benefits, guys. And, what I like to do is what I did on my cycles is I'll kickstart it with a oral. And that really worked well. First 3-4 weeks, kickstart it with an oral, and then run the 500 milligrams a week for 12 weeks. That's a good first cycle, even second or third cycle. And that will do the job. You're getting the both androgenic and anabolic effects.
Yeah, I like testosterone quite a bit. It's kind of the only thing I use now along with EQ. At my age, it gives me a little boost. I don't really juice a lot anymore. I just want to stay healthy and stay strong and look good. So testosterone, just gets me there. One of the things I like about testosterone is that when you really think about it, it's already what your body is used to having. You just put in more of it. I don't really run the chance stuff that I think about now going into 40 of using something that later on might give me some side effects that we might not know about. Look, you don't just have no idea what some of the stuff can do down the line. But testosterone, I can confidently say my body already makes it. There's well-documented information on the side effects of having too high a testosterone for too long. That we already know what the problems that can occur there are. And I can prepare for that. Also, the side effects from testosterone are very predictable, and the drugs to counteract them are readily available. If you have an issue with testosterone turning too much into estrogen and giving you estrogen side effects, you have a very wide choice of different anti-estrogen drugs you can use to counter it. Everything from just Nolvadex to keep it out of receptors to Arimidex to Aromasin to lower overall estrogen. If you have an issue with testosterone becoming too much DHT, dihydrotestosterone, and giving you some of those really androgenic side effects. So yeah, if you have an issue with your testosterone being converted into dihydrotestosterone at too high of a rate and giving you some of those side effects like hair loss, prostate enlargement, some of these side effects that you get, then you also have a choice of drugs that you can use to combat those. And this is all well documented. The research is all out there, where when you use these drugs to combat side effects from other steroids that are not testosterone, we're bro science in it really to a large degree because the test and the real information isn't out there. Whereas it is about testosterone. So I feel pretty confident going forward that if I have some issues, they'll be from my testosterone being too high, not from some unknown link between this synthetic hormone that I've used for decades and something in my brain down the line, right? So that's what I really like about testosterone, just the predictability of it at all. Also, it's probably one of the cheapest steroids you can buy. So it's rarely ever fake. I mean, I can't say enough about it. It's just a great anabolic, just a great steroid. And in my opinion, and I'll give people advice about every steroid out there. I'm familiar with all of them. I've used all of them at some point. But I will just tell everybody, and I'll keep saying this in the podcast, if you're just trying to look good with your shirt off, if you're just trying to look tight and be strong, look at testosterone is all you need.
So let's talk about some of the misconceptions, and this kind of goes into side effects as well. The biggest misconception I see on the forums is guys don't understand that if they take testosterone, they'll get shut down. It does shut you down, guys. It's going to shut down your pituitary glands. Anytime you introduce an exogenous hormone, doesn't matter if it's testosterone, trenbolone, deca, D-bol, whatever, it's going to shut you down. And testosterone shuts you down severely. So you must run a post-cycle therapy after testosterone. Don't think that you can just run testosterone and nothing, that you're not going to get shut down. So always run a PCT after. The other misconception is guys think they can run these absurd dosages. I see 1,000 milligrams a week, 2,000 milligrams a week. They think they can run as much as they want. They're not going to have effects. All those side effects that Rick mentioned, they become very severe when you abuse testosterone. The estrogen issues, the androgenic issues, is the DHT issues. And that will compound themselves as time goes by. So there's no reason to run it at high dosages. The most I've ever ran it was 750 milligrams a week, which was plenty. I got just as good results as 500 milligrams a week. So I reject the idea they have to run 1 or 2 grams a week of testosterone. So less is always better. I like to run low dosages of testosterone when I'm on cycle. Let's say running Primo, EQ, Trend, whatever. I like to run a super low dose of testosterone with them. And just to give it a little androgenic kick. So testosterone is, it's a good versatile, steroid. It's the top selling steroid out there in terms of injectables. And it's, it really, really can be used in any cycle you can name. So it's a tremendous compound. And like Rick said, any steroid source is going to have not just testosterone, they're going to have different versions of testosterone. They're going to have different esters of testosterone. We see them, we see a lot of sources that will sell different, they'll sell the base, the suspension, they'll sell all the way up to the undecanate, long ester, from short ester, long ester, in between blends, all kinds of different things will be sold for testosterone. So it's very versatile for sources and on the black market. And it's very, very cheap, as Rick said. A vial of testosterone, costs less than it costs you to wash your car. That's the reality of it. So it's very cheap.
I used to be able to buy a amp of Testosterone, which is a testosterone enanthate, 1 milliliter amp, 250 milligrams for about $7 US. And then, and I had the option of getting Testosterone, which is the 1 amp, or getting Nevito, which is testosterone undecanoate. It's a big jug, 4 cc's, and it has 1,000 milligrams of testosterone, 4 cc's. And Bayer discontinued Testosterone. It's off the market. Can't get it anymore. Can't find it at any pharmacy. Just no, they didn't even send me a letter or anything to let me know. and it's now gone. And let me just give you guys a price difference. Just going to Farmacia over the counter, right? Testosterone, 250 milligrams, 1 cc amp, $7. And like I explained earlier, we're getting a good amount of testosterone there because it's the shorter ester. Now, on the other hand, Nevido, testosterone undecanoate, 4 cc jug, 250 milligrams per cc. So it's 1,000 milligrams, $74. So my steroid bill just went up because I only use human grade test. Apparently, it's going to be tough, almost impossible for me to continue to get testoviron anymore. I've been pretty saddened by these news, man. I can't get legit testoviron corner pharmacy like I used to anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting little situation there. But all right, guys, excellent. So, guys, we really appreciate you listening to this podcast. I think we covered pretty much everything on testosterone, but if we missed anything, we'll definitely follow up on a future podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. Our next podcast is coming up next week. I hope you guys will join us once again. For Stevesmi and Rick, this is another episode of Evolutionary.org podcast coming your way. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Hey, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one, Steve.
Guys, this is the required legal disclaimer. We are only sharing our experience from years of steroid use. We are not doctors, and none of what we say should be regarded as medical advice. Always check with your doctor before taking any drugs or starting any training program.